Costco did a thing.
I see.
So I got Final Fantasy Commander decks. You can run to your nearest Costco. A lot of them are limiting it to 2 per purchase, so I got the 2 ones that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I got those today. They arrived today. I have an in at the Costco.
Ah, you got a guy on the inside.
Yeah, my boy Quentin. I call him my drug dealer. He has the lowdown on the Costco because he's an employee there.
But that is a run, don't walk to Costco.
So here's what I'll say. They put it out on the floor. It opened, like, stores opened, got there, and I wasn't able to get there until, like, after 2 p.m. Okay? Get there after 2 p.m. They were still, stacked up with all of them. They had all 4 available. I was worried it was like, oh, are certain stores only going to have, like, 1 or 2? When they've done this in the past, they've been taking, like, the bulk that didn't sell after like a year and a half, and then throwing it at Costco at a discount. So it's always been like pretty good deal. Like the Lord of the Rings decks came a year later. Thunder Junction came about a year later. March of the Machines came about a year later. Final Fantasy, this is the closest they've done a Costco like Commander Kit style package this close to us, like before the next set has come out. And for those of you that don't know, It's got the deck, full deck, sealed, 2 packs, and then 4 promos. These are just starter kit cards, so it's like nothing crazy. $60 MSRP pricing for Final Fantasy Commander decks. So this is so good on like affordability. You can go out and buy them in a retail store yourself if you want them. And the secondary market, the prices on these commander decks has already crashed down to like a much more reasonable level. There's no more like basic Final Fantasy commander decks that are like $100+ anymore. I think the most expensive one is the Final Fantasy VII deck, where I think it's like $85 now. Also, I'm having a bit of a hair day again. I got sweaty at practice and I took a shower before starting, so I apologize.
Well,
I'm a clean.
Everyone's getting sweaty out there.
Clean boy now, so, big wins. Wyatt, how the hell are you doing after my little Final Fantasy Commander deck bit?
I am doing quite well, actually. Just got back from a nice 4th of July weekend with the family. Mm-hmm. And went right back to work like nothing happened, so...
Yep. I worked the day before, the day of, and the day after.
That's not very patriotic of you.
Well, I mean, I had like a beer.
Okay, all right.
So, I was outside.
It.
I was around my partner's family. Is that a Capri Sun?
It is a Kool-Aid jammer.
Oh, you're one of those.
Whoa. I'm not one of those, okay? These were just given to my son, and I'm taking one.
Yeah, that's what they all
tax.
say. Yeah, the father tax, whatever. We don't have time to debate the Kool-Aid Jammer versus Capri Sun war that's been waging for generations at this point.
No, because we have Spelljammer to talk about. But Magic the Gathering...
That's actually a very good point. I hadn't thought of it that way, like at all. That's a very valid point. No, it's been a little bit long since the last episode. We had a bonus action. Our set review, Final Fantasy, is out right now. You can check that out. Free feeds available to you. You can get it early, ad-free on Patreon. Patreon.com/DungeonBros, $5 a month, early ad-free access to all the podcasts. $15 get your name right at the end of the show. The whole deal. It's a whole bit. We love it.
It is.
But we've missed quite a bit in this time.
We have.
And originally I was wanting to go through like line by line, like all the stuff, hit every single mark of MagicCon, and I was like, that's great. And then I was like, oh, we'll get the BNR in there too, it'll be great. And then the Edge of Eternities debut video and seeing a bunch of cards from this, and so the plans changed slightly. We're gonna hit highlights. I think that's what's most important here. Okay.
That's what people.
If you went to MagicCon, if you went to MagicCon, you know all the shit anyway. We're going to kind of combine the MagicCon and the Edge of Eternities debut video into one little discussion point, because we got like some early previews, and then like a week and a half later we got the debut video, so it's like whatever. So
yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
MagicCon Las Vegas, I want to hit a couple things. We have some new ways to play Commander at your local game store. You got Commander Sealed, which has been a thing for a while now. You take a booster box, you open it up, and you can make a Commander deck out of it. It doesn't have as stringent of rules around color identity for legendary creatures, and it is a 60-card singleton format as opposed to a 100-card singleton format. I've heard about it. I think it's pretty cool. Haven't really participated in it myself. And they're also officially supporting Two-Headed Giant Commander, 2 versus 2, 1 life total for each team. I think Two-Headed Giant's super fun.
I do too. Love Two-Headed Giant.
One of the previous SCG cons in Cincinnati, Sam and I, former host of the show, who might be coming back very soon after he's done with his hike through the Appalachians, if you will. Mm-hmm. We did Two-Headed Giant. And we didn't like build special decks for it, but we had 2 decks that we realized worked really, really well together and were like really synergistic and aggressive, and we liked it. So we took part in a Two-Headed Giant event there. I was playing Feather the Redeemed, so white, red, just combat trick, recursive over and over again. And he was playing Ivy Gleeful Spell Thief. And in more of a control aspect of it. So he was able to copy all of my buff spells, and then he was able to give me card draw so that I could like keep the fire going if I was losing cards or I wasn't getting what I needed. He kind of played slower, left more mana open for control, and I was just super aggressive, tapping out every single turn. We fucking destroyed.
Yeah, that sounds like a winning combo.
It was because it was one of those we had played. This is when we were doing our live streams on TikTok, Monday Night Magic, and we were playing against each other, those 2 decks. And it was like a couple weeks before SCG Con. And he was just completely shutting me out because he was just, everything I could do, he could do. You know? And like
that's the name of the game with Ivy.
Exactly. And then I was like a day or 2 later, I was like, there's Two-Headed Giant event, and I think we could play these 2 decks and just completely roast. And we did twice. we ended up in two matches, and the first one was just a complete one-sided. Like it was this recently married couple. They were very lovely. One of them the woman was playing her Angels deck. The guy was playing Dragon, so they were just way too slow. They couldn't keep up. And
what
then the other
Sonic
guys
say? You're too slow.
Oh, we'll get
topical
to
reference.
We'll get to Sonic. Anyway, new ways to play Commander at your local game store. Another new way to play is the ever-dying draft format. So it is very difficult to get 8 people together to do a regular draft where you have 3 packs. You open one, pick a card, pass it to the side. They announced a newly supported official way to draft Magic the Gathering, a way that has been just kind of used by a lot of people who have a Commander group and want to draft. I've done it before this way. Instead of 8 people, all you need is 4. And again, you still have 3 packs per person. You open the pack, you open your first play booster, you take 2 cards from it, you pass, you repeat until there are no more cards being passed. Then you open your second, pick 2, pass the opposite direction, and then the same for the third, passing to the original direction again, and then the same draft rules. 40-card deck, you can play whatever cards you drafted. It doesn't have to be limited on the number of cards in the deck. And yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pick 2, draft. You draft cards, you pick 2. Have you ever done that way of drafting before, Wyatt?
Yeah, interestingly enough, when you mentioned the Two-Headed Giant, I participated, I believe it was 2 months ago or something at this point, participated in a draft night at my local game store where it was a Baldur's Gate sealed event, and me and my buddy went up there and we Two-Headed Giant drafted. And I ended up being on like a Wilson, It's the one wherever you attack, you make 2 treasures if you're attacking the player with the highest life.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Guild Artisan, I want to say.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it was Gruul. I was super aggressive. He was on like a Dimir or a... Yeah, it was Dimir. He was on like a Dimir control, so it was kind of the same thing. Like, I was the punch and I was the steak, he was the sizzle, you know? So...
Two-Headed Giant's so fun.
It is.
It really
That was an absolute blast, especially the way they were doing it. Unfortunately, I ended up having to leave that event early, but it all ended up working out.
I think Two-Headed Giant's probably my favorite variant of Commander, for sure. I think... Oh, what is it called? The King one, where it's like you have... Or Arch Enemy. Is it Arch Enemy?
Yeah, Arch Enemy.
Where it's the 5-player? Yeah. I don't know why I call it. I think it's because we gave it names of like King and Knight and like Usurper. We were using like the the like, oh my god, Mafia kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like that kind of terminology for it.
Yeah.
I've also done Oathbreaker. I actually have a couple of Oathbreaker decks. I used to have a Tovalar Werewolf commander deck, and then I converted that into an Arlen Cord Werewolf Oathbreaker deck because I wanted to have Moon Mist just over and over and over again. So
right, who would?
Just the free transform and locking it on the good side of the cards. But yeah, I don't really play much of the variants anymore, sadly. It's fun that they are officially supported. Oh man, so much shit to cover. All right, let's just jump right into the MagicCon Vegas stuff. We're gonna skip Edge of Eternities for a little bit. We'll get back to it. Don't worry. It doesn't make sense to go over like the previews and then go over the more previews later. We're just going to do it all a little bit later.
All at once.
So the big things, along with those 2 announcements of new formats that are being supported, they gave us the first preview card for the Avatar: The Last Airbender set. That is the set coming out at the end of 2025, and it is the titular Avatar Aang. Avatar Aang is a 4-color red, green, white, blue, 4/4 legendary creature, human avatar ally with flying and firebending 2. We do not know yet what firebending or any of the bending keywords do, but we do know whenever you waterbend, earthbend, firebend, or airbend, draw a card. Then if you've done all 4 this turn, you transform Avatar Aang. Avatar Aang then transforms into Aang, Master of Elements, a 6/6 legendary avatar ally with flying. Spells you cast cost white, blue, black, red, green, less to cast. We'll get back to that in a moment. And then at the beginning of each upkeep, you may transform Aang, Master of Elements. If you do, you gain 4 life, you draw 4 cards, you put 4 +1/+1 counters on him, and he deals 4 damage to each opponent. Now, remember the keywords: airbending, earthbending, waterbending, firebending.
Yep.
What he has you do when he flips back to his regular side: gain 4 life. That sounds an awful lot like something a white airbending thing would do.
Mm-hmm.
Draw 4 cards. Sounds an awful lot like something blue waterbending would do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put 4 +1/+1 counters on him. Sounds an awful lot like an earthbender. Some green earthbending. And then deal 4 damage to each opponent. Definitely sounds like a red firebending thing to do.
Absolutely.
I don't know if those are going to be exactly what those keywords do. Firebending 2, it would make sense. Deals 2 damage directly to your opponent. Is it on attack? Is it on enter? Is it... Who knows? But I feel like you're going to have fire doing damage, waterbending drawing you cards, airbending gaining you life, earthbending giving you counters. I think that's the realm we're going to be living in. But
yeah.
Spells you cast cost white, blue, black, red, green, less to cast. We've seen similar templating on this.
We have.
But not exactly this. The similar templating is that only reduces colored mana pips. This does not have that restriction.
No.
Are you familiar with the card that this combos with?
Fists of the Sun?
Fists of the Sun. And Joda. And, like, everything.
And that Leyline card from Duskmorn.
Yeah. there's a lot of ones.
Yeah.
Fist of the Suns is the most important. It's a 3-mana artifact, originally from Fifth Dawn. If the information I have in front of me is to be believed.
Yes. Shout out to all Fifth Dawn drafters.
God bless. God bless. You may pay white, blue, black, red, green, rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you play. This, along with the backside of Avatar Aang, equals all spells free.
Omniscience.
Speaking of omniscience, say you don't have Fists of the Suns out. Omniscience is now what? Effectively 3 blue with Avatar Aang out. It reduces the generic cost of spells as well. So if you have 1 mana pip and 4 or less generic, those spells are free. Period. No restriction. So
Wild.
the chase top headliner card of the Avatar set, of course, would be Avatar form Aang, and shit looks good, man.
Yeah.
Seems very build around fun.
Absolutely.
What do you make of the Avatar Aang himself? Did you ever watch Avatar?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. So seeing that being announced was very exciting. And one of my friends that I got into Magic the Gathering, but he wasn't like super crazy about it. I mean, he'd play if I asked him to. He's an even bigger fan, and when he found out about it, he's like, you know what? That'll probably be the set that gets me.
Yep. Everyone gets got.
You will get got eventually.
I've been saying this about video games for a while now too, because they've started doing that like pay $10, get 2 to 3 days early access for a video game thing. I have refused to do that, just kind of on a principled level, personally. I think it's a great way for them to make money. If you want to get access to the game early, that's great. I'm more than happy to wait 3 days and reduce the cost of my game by double-digit percentage.
Yeah.
Personally. But when Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out, if they said, hey, Connor, give us $15 and you can play it 3 days early, I will say, $15 how many times?
Yeah.
And then proceed to absolutely pay that price entirely. That was a very good dad move. It was a very, very good dad move.
Thank you. I'm well versed.
Speaking of fathers, this is a non sequitur entirely. I have like 3 friends that have just become fathers for like the first time.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. One of my coworkers, Chris, he had a lovely daughter. Norb also had a lovely daughter. Very excited. Norb was actually a guest on this podcast way in the past, way in a long time ago.
Well, welcome to the Dad Club.
He hasn't made a YouTube video in a while, but Feldeleb on YouTube, he used to run with like the XP to level 3 Davy Chappy types on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Fun fact. Anyway, do you have anything else you would like to say about the Avatar set? That's really all we have. I think they showed a couple pieces of art, and then we've already known the release date of November 21st for the set as well. So
yeah,
that's kind of all we got out of that.
I gotta say that if there's food tokens, there better be a cabbage.
Oh, absolutely.
And for cards that I would like to see on the sheet, the extra sheet, I want to see Rogue's Passage as Secret Tunnel.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. That'd be good. They need to leverage with these Universes Beyond ones more. The Lord of the Rings did it with their bonus sheet, where it's like we're just renaming all this shit. And then putting the original name under. Like, just rename it. Who cares? No one gives a shit. You know?
Plus, I just want to be able to, when I attack in, just go, Secret
Tunnel. Tap 3 for Secret Tunnel. Exactly. I think that
mountain.
you're at the very least, you're going to get a land that is a secret tunnel. For sure. The last 2 major announcements in terms of sets from MagicCon were the official name drops for Lorwyn Eclipse, which is our return to Lorwyn set. We'll be getting towards the beginning of 2026. Very excited for that. And the official confirmation of Secrets of Strixhaven, a return to the Strixhaven plane, also in 2026 at some point. No official dates and no real information provided. You seem to get excited about Lorwyn.
Well, I got excited about Lorwyn because anyone who knows the lore of Lorwyn knows that their split revolves around the moon. So in the daytime, they're halflings and goblins and merfolk, and then when I'm trying to remember what it was called, there's a specific name for it, but basically when night would come, they turn, and then that's where we get like rogues and like the more evil looking fairy tale things. So Eclipsed has piqued my interest because an eclipse is when the moon covers the sun. So I wonder if that has anything to do with the lore that will be going on in Lorwyn.
Surely they're going to be doing the name implies they're going to be doing a lot of weird stuff with that lore wise, at least. How that reflects in mechanics. They seem to have been really obsessed with this
Eventide, that's what it was called. Sorry.
Thank you. They seem to be really obsessed with transforming double-faced cards recently, going all the way back to, I mean, gosh,
I
Midnight
don't want
Hunt.
to see a return of the day and night cycle. Please don't do that.
I don't think they heard loud and clear that day-night was not very good, but I could see them doing something of like a transforming back and forth with more fluidity, with a different mechanic. Maybe one
like
that retroactively like re-encompasses Daybound, Nightbound into it. I think that could be pretty cool. But like Midnight Hunt, March of the Machines, we've been getting double-faced creatures for like kind of a while now. And this seems like very lore-based reason as to why you would be getting that for Lorwyn. So
it would be a real nightmare if it was like on your turn it's this creature, but then on each consecutive turn it flips.
Every time an end step
occurs, yeah.
Every end step transform. That would actually be pretty dope, honestly.
Just hold on, let me get it out of the sleeve. Okay.
Well, this is what I did for my We're taking another sidetrack here. We talked about the werewolf deck earlier, turned it into an Oathbreaker deck. All of the double-faced werewolves I put in double-faced clear sleeves, and then I just made I made these Word documents where I'd set up the dimensions on. I use GIMP as a photo editor for thumbnails, and I set it up to the dimensions of a Magic the Gathering card, and then I took the two faces and I turned them and I shrunk them down so they would fit into the dimensions of a Magic the Gathering card sideways, side by side, kind of like how like the room enchantments for Duskmourn looked. Okay. And then I just slid those in so you could see both sides. Perfect. And you knew, and that way you could play it. I just put like a basic land behind them. You play it, and then you pull it out, and then it's easier to just flip it back and forth, and you don't have to like pull it out and all that kind of nonsense.
And then
Highly
as
recommend.
Far as Secrets of Strixhaven go, I'm excited for that because do you think we'll get the other pairings?
I didn't think about that, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Jester Lavore
could be an interesting thing.
This cat is being a menace right now. I have a window just on the other side of my monitors, and there's a curtain, and she's between the curtain and the window, but she's like fucking clawing at the curtain right now. It's very distracting.
She's just acting out her namesake.
She really is. Do you think we're going to get like a secret lair drop for Strixhaven or like a bonus sheet for Strixhaven where they slip in Harry Potter cards to coincide with the HBO show?
I could see them doing that. I mean, I think we've talked about Harry Potter before, and I just think it would kind of be a pretty big slap in the... Like, it's going to make money. So I think they would do it, but I also feel like it would kind of betray like a big portion of the Magic the Gathering community. Because, I mean, the Magic the Gathering community does have a lot of trans people and... A lot
of animosity toward...
Yeah, I see the
you
light
saw the
increasing.
Yeah, ma'am.
Quit babbling. But
ma'am,
I would just hate that for them because I know how much of a transphobe J.K. Rowling is, and I just think that would be kind of a bad signal to send. Plus, Strixhaven was like kind of their workaround answer. I feel so. I don't know. I mean, it'll make money because there are people out there that still, separate the art from the artist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I've had so many TikTok videos come across. I'm not even a huge Harry Potter head, but like I've had so many videos come across where people are talking about it, just how flimsy everything is when you start like comparing it as you're older. And it's just one of those things where you're like, it's, when you're writing for young adults, it's fine then, but anytime you start to put anything under a microscope about it, it's like, this is just wrong.
I think it's more lazy in a lot. Like, a lot of the times it just feels lazy.
Yes.
So here's the culprit.
She's been apprehended.
You can tell that she feels like she's just been arrested.
Yeah.
Ooh, get out of here. She's going to file a report with the Cat Owners Association against me.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have anything else you would like to say about MagicCon 2025 Las Vegas?
Nope.
They were selling Final Fantasy stuff at MSRP. So some people spent their entire MagicCon just going through the lines and buying the limit every time they went through the line for like collector boosters. You could buy collector boosters at MSRP and then at booths like next to it sell it for like a $30 profit, like sealed.
That's wild.
It was nuts. If that's how you choose to spend your however much the pass for that is, then more power to you. But
Exactly.
I'm good not doing that. I'm good going through the line once, getting the packs at a reasonable. Collector boosters aren't really a reasonable price, and then doing it that way. But
it's funny we say that because Moist Critical put out a video going over that actually, where he bought a collector booster, like the whole box at the markup price. He spent $1,400 for it, and he was doing it just to prove a point. Like, you're not making money out of this. He said you have a better chance of going outside and being struck by lightning twice, or getting some kind or attacked by a random animal outside.
And then his video was rendered moot because he pulled a serialized chocobo.
No, he did have some hits, but at the end of the day, when he tallied up everything, it wasn't even 400 out of the 1,400 spent. So.
Basically, if you're spending over $1,000, the only way you make your money back is if you hit multiple of the Face Commander Surge foils, or the fancy traveling chocobos, or a serialized, and that's like kind of it. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
Maybe a fancy Vivi and a Surge, but even maybe Cloud, but even then, it's not really making that big of a dent. 12 packs.
Yeah, 12 packs.
Over $100 a pack is outrageous.
Wild.
Yeah, thanks, Magic 30. Moving on. Banned and restricted announcement. The planned banned and restricted announcement prior to set rotation to kind of set the new rotation of standard into frame. Doggy, they went way harder in the paint than I was expecting.
Yes.
Personally. Just a quick run through. Corey Steelcutter, Abuelo's Awakening, Monstrous Rage, Heartfire Hero, Up the Beanstalk, Hopeless Nightmare, and This Town Ain't Big Enough all hit a ban. This hits every major deck that has been popping up in the last year. Obviously, Is It Prowess taking the largest hit between Corey Steelcutter, Monstrous Rage, and some versions were running Heartfire Hero as well. The Omniscience combo deck getting Abuela's Awakening taken out. You had a lot of Blink strategies, Pixie Blink, Esper, Demir Blink with This Town Ain't Big Enough. Hopeless Nightmare was a good target to be blinked as well. And then Up the Beanstalk was just kind of very good value for a long time. Every color had to take a hit, and I think Up the Beanstalk died for the other's sins. Hopeless Nightmare, I'm a little surprised by, personally. But I think all of them are pretty reasonable.
Right. But wait, you said a certain card that I believe is a reward now if you go and play at your LGS.
So for Edge of Eternities, they had announced the schedule for all of the events surrounding Edge of Eternities, pre-release, set release, standard showdowns at local game stores, and the promo to participate in Standard Showdowns is a Monstrous Rage promo, which they poked fun at in the post, being like, haha, yeah, it was banned. We had already printed these before they banned it. And the plan to do this was like a year in the making. It's still legal in Pioneer. Have fun in Pioneer.
Probably just an email that got lost, between.
Yeah. I mean, they could have just given out like VV promos for Standard.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Yeah,
But
I think it would have been really chill.
now, Monstrous Rage. If anything, I'm probably going to pick up a couple copies because I have several decks that I think would really like a Monstrous Rage in a lot of ways. So we take the wins where we get them, frankly.
Monstrous Rage is what happened when I don't get my white monster.
Ooh. Speaking of a monster, the Corey Steelcutter getting the one set removed ban, effectively, which is a little bit faster, but it also had much faster impact on Standard. I had previously gave my thoughts about Corey Steelcutter. I believe we did it in the Final Fantasy set review, actually, which I think is a little funny. But for those that haven't heard, we'll get to that in a moment. What do you think of the headliner, the Corey Steelcutter, getting a pseudo-Nado contingency style banning?
I think it goes to show that red is a very powerful color, and it should stay a powerful color, and there's no reason future red cards should be penalized for so many red cards being banned.
We'll talk about Edge of Eternities in a moment, Wyatt. You can hold your tongue.
But I don't know. It's a good sign to me, honestly, when you see bans like that, because it's, one, they're paying attention closely, noticing the problem cards, but they're really not straying away from printing powerful cards, which I feel like for a long time they were kind of gun-shy about. But that's kind of gone out the door, I feel. But it lets me know that they are at least keeping a close eye on everything.
I agree. I had argued, this discussion had come up in the Final Fantasy set review. I had argued that Corey Steelcutter should make one time through before getting banned, simply because I feel like there are already answers that exist in Standard to Corey Steelcutter. Namely High Noon from Thunder Junction, 1 and a white. You can cast one spell a turn, and then you can cash it in later for 5 mana to do big damage to something. I think a Boros list, a Mardu list, running that, Orzhov even, that has some sources of red just to like crack it for damage at some point. I think you could have made a deck around that. Obviously, that hadn't happened yet. Corey Steelcutter had only been around for a couple of months. I think the format could have resolved itself. But if the other cards on this list outside of Corey Steelcutter had caught a ban and not Corey Steelcutter, there would have been a lot of outrage about that. Corey Steelcutter would have just taken over even higher percentage yield in Standard. So given what they were looking at banning, I would never have guessed Hopeless Nightmare. I would not have guessed Heartfire Hero or Up the Beanstalk. I think This Town Ain't Big Enough is kind of just a really like a good card. I don't think it was ban worthy by any stretch of the imagination. Boiler's Awakening and Monstrous Rage I think are very fair. Yeah. To catch a ban, but I mean if they were going this hard, they're very much like we want Standard to be healthy and they're willing to make big money moves to do so.
I think it's going to just take some time to kind of find the balance once again, but I'm fairly certain the next thing that will rise is something that will involve Izzet Prowess still, with Vivi probably at the helm.
Yeah. Well, Vivi had only started showing up in Izzet Prowess builds as kind of like a shoo-in card. I think we're going to start seeing all-in Vivi combo decks because what deck basically had its core piece removed?
Mono red.
Mono red. Well, yes. But mono red's got enough support. What is like the one card that made Omniscience tick here? Abuelo's Awakening. What card combination for 3 mana? 3 mana to cast Vivi. Wild Ride. make VV a 4 whatever, tap VV, harmonize Wild Ride, VV's a 7. I think you're going to see all-in VV combo decks that people try out as
Absolutely.
a shell for Omniscience now. And is it Omniscience as opposed to an Azorius Omniscience with Abuela's Awakening? It's probably going to be a little bit harder to pull off than Abuela's Awakening, but I think it's probably the best option. I mean, just anything that you can dump a large amount of mana in one turn into.
Yeah.
But
Something reminiscent of like a Storm deck almost.
yeah, Storm-esque, but instead of a Storm payoff, kind of like an Omniscience. Like I don't even know what you would use as your big payoff. I mean, you're going to have these massive VV beaters at the end of the day. So who knows what the new standard will be. And a couple other things. Alchemy, Core Steelcutter is suspended until they rebalance it for Arena. Tybalt's Trickery was banned in Pioneer Best of 1 on Arena. Sure. And then Historic, Counterspell's unbanned, so that's neat.
Sick.
Yeah, so cool. Anyway, moving on. Edge of Eternities.
You've been edged enough. It's time to talk about
You've-
Edge.
You want some Edge. I'll
Yeah.
give you some Edge. All right. Edge of Eternities, we are fully into preview season now. The debut video showing off a lot of the new set mechanics, the new cards, new card frames, art styles, reprints we are getting, special guest bonus sheets, so many fun things. As a friendly reminder, the rules of Commander have changed. Legendary artifacts that have a power toughness box on them are now eligible as Commander. This is relevant for vehicles, which are not natively creatures. They are creatures only when they are crewed. And then now spacecraft as well, which are only creatures once they reach a certain charge count threshold. But not all of them. Not all of them. Not going to dive too deep. The main mechanic I want to talk about is Warp. This is kind of reminiscent of Adventures and Evoke if they kind of had like a baby together a little bit. So Warp is you may cast this card from your hand for its Warp cost. You exile this creature at the beginning of the next end step, and then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. So the big one here, I think, is Starfield Vocalist, 3 blue for a 3/4 human bard. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time, double up on triggers. So 4 mana, ETB, doubler, Panharmonicon. You can pay 1 and a blue to warp it. So it comes into the battlefield, and then it sticks around until the end of your turn. So you can use that as a cheap way to double a couple of triggers. And then it lives in exile, free from hand disruption, much like Adventures are, that you can cast for the full price later on. I think Warp is going to be a very powerful ability.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
by far the most powerful. It's basically an adventure if both cards are the same card.
It's a little reminiscent to me of almost Dash.
Very Dash-esque. I think it's a weird combination of a whole lot of things. Every mechanic is kicker, as we know.
Right.
We've said it a million times. So this is kicker, where you just pay the kicker, and then you get it for a little bit, and then you get it later. The cards we've seen so far are ones that have powerful ETBs or powerful static abilities for cheap cost that augment other things going on your board. They themselves will trigger any other enters the battlefield effects. Warp is going to be good, just period. It's going to be a very powerful ability.
Very
Very good. Very, very good. We also have a new token type.
Yes.
The Lander. A spacecraft lander landing on a planet. It is an artifact token, and it has pay 2, tap, sack this token, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. Colorless land ramp, basic land ramp, encouraging basic lands in deck, I think is a good thing. Is it better than a clue?
I would...
It's definitely better than a map.
Yes, definitely better than a map. Definitely better than a food.
Mm-hmm.
Better than a blood.
I don't know if I would agree with that. I think blood. I think it's on the same. I think Clue is just a little bit better. Drawing cards is like one of the best things you can do in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think a 2-mana. You're basically cracking a Wayfarer's Bauble.
Yeah, I was fixed to say it's like a Wayfarer's Bauble, but this, you can get this in. I think a lot of decks are going to want this because it basically gives them a pseudo way to ramp.
Yeah.
And in that regard, I think it's probably just barely beats out a Clue. Because it's like if you're digging to find land and you crack a Clue, you can just draw another card. But lander will actually help you get that land. And it's not like a 1-to-1 comparison of thinning out your deck, but it's getting rid of a potential land you could draw. And instead of putting it into your hand, it's putting it directly onto the battlefield.
I think onto the battlefield is the key here.
Right, and I think that's the only thing that puts it just barely above a Clue for me.
Man.
Because I think for most of the game, you'd want a lander over a Clue. Maybe a Clue in like the late game when you're really just desperate to draw some cards or something, but
I don't know,
for the most part, I feel you're going to be digging for lands.
Maybe it's just the decks that I like playing or the decks that I like building. I feel like I would want a Clue more. I'd rather be digging personally than landing on some basics.
How would you be digging if it wasn't for the lands?
Yeah. It's just two different, as you were saying, I think it is probably just two different phases of the game that you're worried about.
Yeah.
And it's just a nice thing to dump some extra mana into if you're holding, like if you have a control list that's making lander tokens of some kind, that's a great mana sink if you don't end up needing to use a counter spell or have a flash or instant speed. A value piece, just spending 2 to crack and get another land, get extra mana on your next turn. It does enter the battlefield tapped. Doesn't matter if you're playing Wandering Minstrel from Final Fantasy. Is that good? Probably not, but
there are some other cards in Edge of Eternities that untap your lands.
that is also true. But at the end of the day, lander, artifact synergies, sacrifice synergies, landfall synergies. I think I just talked myself into it. I think it is better than a Clue.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's not by much.
I agree.
Just barely.
It's a very, very good token type, and it is a shame that they made it something so specific, like a lander.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I guess they could just continue to call it a lander, and you could be like, "Oh, it's searching a land."
I think they could have called it something a little better, but I feel like what I would have called it would be like discover, but that's already a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Or explore, which is
already a mechanic.
So landing just makes sense. And I think they called it a lander over a landing because lander is more distinct and landing sounds like banding. So
yeah. But I could see them in like future sets, like a lander token being like a rowboat and like discovering new land. Like you could stretch it, but it's a shame that I think it's probably going to be locked to space theme sci-fi stuff, sadly.
Possibly. We'll just have to see how it goes because, for a while there we thought treasures might end up being something similar with, I believe it was Ixalan.
Well, we had gold before then too, and treasures were like a slightly powered down version of it.
Right. So I think this is something they're floating out there to test.
Yeah. No, I think warp and landers, I think, are two things that I would love to see come back for future sets. Those are just very good, valuable mechanics.
And one more thing I want to point out about warp before we get off of the topic about it. Keep in mind, if the creature does not have haste, you still cannot attack with it.
Yep.
It still has summoning sickness. So don't think it's dash or suspend or anything like that where you cast it for its warp cost. If it doesn't have haste, it will not be attacking. You're just getting the effect.
Yeah. And I think I've just been scrolling through. I don't think there are any warp cards that also have haste themselves. So I don't think that's really going to be a thing that they're planning around.
There's a few. Black, I see Timeline Color. He has haste.
Oh, yeah.
Hellkite, Red
Yeah.
Tiger Mechan. I think that's going to be like a red-black type thing.
Oh,
where
I just totally fucked that one up, didn't I? Damn.
It's okay.
I kept getting distracted.
No, that's completely fine. But I think it's going to be like the Rakdos mechanic, probably.
That's fair.
We'll see from
That's
this
fair.
set.
Landfall also making a return. Gonna synergize very well with the landers.
The Landers.
The
Landers.
Ned Landers is crazy. There's going to be some +1/+1 counter stuff going on with green decks, it appears.
Whoa. Breaking
Isn't that
new
crazy?
ground.
Who could have possibly guessed that? Void, not really a keyword, but kind of a delirium style buff, like where you have to fulfill a requirement, the requirement being something leaving the battlefield this turn or a spell being warped.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the uncommon Tragic Trajectory. It's 1 black sorcery. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Void, that creature gets -10/-10 until end of turn instead if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn. Another just kind of generically good mechanic. Sacrifice is a thing. If you're cracking a lander, that is going to trigger it. That is a non-land permanent
counts.
leaving the battlefield. And cracking an Evolving Wilds, a fetch land. Sacrificing a token to a Viscera Seer, a creature dying in combat. All non-land permanents leaving the battlefield.
Yep. All
Blinking your stuff. Non-land permanents leaving the battlefield. It's very easy to fulfill that requirement. And I think a leave the battlefield enhancement is an interesting way to use, because usually ETB, LTB stuff is like triggered abilities, but this is kind of like a, once you have done it, it's then, then I have all of these things that are just kind of improved.
Yeah, this is reminiscent of the Morbid or Revolt mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also want to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the sliver in the room, because we have Thrumming Hive Pool, which kind of has me thinking we might be seeing more slivers, because why would you just slip a card in that benefits slivers with no other slivers in the set?
Well, you have the special guest Sliver Overlord in like the sci-fi movie poster art style in the special guest bonus sheet. So that's neat. You also get Magus of the Moon there as well.
Yeah.
Are we getting more slivers?
I think we have to be. I kind of don't see a way that they would put Thrumming Hive Pool at rare and not at least sprinkle, lightly dust some slivers in there for us. Are they going to be very powerful? I don't think so. But I do think that we are going to be getting more slivers. Also,
it's a good
the
thing.
flavor text on that card is absolutely insane. It reminds me of something out of Alien, where it says, "I'll never escape this rock, but I fear they will." Decrypted log 411.
It is good that slivers are getting some support though, because I don't think they've really had a lot going for them in Magic's history. So I think it's really about time that we really gave slivers the support that they need to be viable.
Oh yeah. Slivers notoriously very weak.
Yeah.
Very underpowered, undersupported type.
Yeah. Pay no mind to them. And I'll take a copy off your hand for like $5.
Yeah.
Anyway, another thing we're beating around the bush here. Reprints in Edge of Eternities. The big ones. 5 Shocklands being reprinted into Standard. We're getting Watery Grave, Stomping Ground, Sacred Foundry, Godless Shrine, and Breeding Pool. I think probably 5 of the more valuable Shocklands. We don't have the Is It one, sadly. But green blue, white black, red white, blue black, red green. Those color combinations, love a shock in standard, I think. I love the shock lands. I think they're great dual lands. I'm glad that they're entering into standard. But now to bring up the art discussion, okay? The basic versions of them I think are really cool. They have flavor text where they're going over like log entries of Maisie's Edge Chronicles, where she's talking about entering these planets that are just kind of barren and discovering them for the first time with these cool planet arts. But they also have ship portal versions. Now, what is that? Oh, the title is shoved all the way down. All the text is like squeezed in the bottom quarter. And then you get this little like porthole frame thing with a character looking through the window into a planet. It looks really cool. It also looks like something you would get from a proxy website of someone that just designed their own Shockland. And I think therein lies one of the biggest art-based criticisms of the set. We're getting some like anime girls and stuff because of course we are.
Yeah.
There's some cool full art, extended art cards with like heroes standing in front of large planets and stuff. But specifically, the land-based arts are just very, very strange. We're getting some planet lands, which is a new land type as well. We'll get into that in a little bit. And they also have the porthole arts available to them. Any Stellar Sights is another frame that we're getting some reprints of lands for. I'm just concerned about the ones where they have their names being shoved down, all the text being like pushed out of the way to just make room for the art. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, and frankly, it's not very positive.
It's not a good feeling.
Not a good feeling. Speaking of not a good feelings, let's talk about your red planet. Planets. Planets is a new subtype on lands. There is, as of so far, we have a mythic cycle of planet lands. They are not legendary, so you can have multiple of them. All of them enter tapped. All of them tap for one color of mana in this cycle, and they all have station. Station is another keyword new to Edge of Eternities. It is found on these planet lands and a lot of artifact spacecraft cards as well, which is a new subtype of artifact. Station is you tap another creature you control, you put a charge counter equal to its power onto this planet or artifact. You can station only as a sorcery. And then they have further effects. For example, let's look at, let's say, Earthrus Titan Godcore, the blue planet land. At 12 plus charge counters, it gains the ability, pay 1 blue and tap, add blue for each artifact you control. A very powerful ability.
Yeah.
Surcer, Secundi Void Altar, the black planet land. At 12 plus charge counters, it gets pay 1 in a black, tap, pay 2 life, sack a creature, draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, activate only as a sorcery. Another very powerful ability on a land. The cycle's getting good. Adagia, Windswept Bastion, the white one, 12 plus counters, 3 and a white, tap, create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's legendary. Activate only as a sorcery. Really good stuff. So, your favorite one, Wyatt, what does the red one do?
The red one is, again, Station 12. You can pay 1 in a red, tap it, sacrifice a land, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token, then creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. I am seething. Seething. Because I already know that the green one is basically going to be a Gaia's Cradle.
Oh, it has to be.
I can feel it. So basically, Gaia's Cradle, Tolarian Academy, Shadowheart Dark Justicar, Adagia is something completely new that I have not seen out of white. And then they're just like, red, you get to have a robot that can be a 3/2. And you lose a land.
Have a really shitty version of the Urza Saga second chapter.
Terrible. Like, it doesn't even make sense because it's not like the robot gets bigger for other artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even benefiting that. To make matters worse, you could have picked any other red effect. It could have been half of a Jessica's Will. Like, if you pay 2 and tap it, choose an opponent, make red equal to the amount of cards in their hand. Or it could have been a sneak attack. It could have been an extra combat. It could have been a double combat damage. Like, pay 2, tap, this turn combat damage can't be prevented, all combat damage is doubled. Like, it could have been so much stuff. And they just gave it the worst effect. I'm having literal flashbacks to when they unveiled Urabrask in New Capenna, and I was just so disappointed after seeing all the other overpowered Praetors, and then here comes Urabrask, and they're like, you can exile a card. And the first card your opponents would draw, that's not their draw step. They have to exile 2 cards, and they can only play one of those cards. I'm like, oh, well, that'll set them back. That'll sure show them.
And these are cards for a color that just got banned into oblivion.
Right. And
not
and
completely.
like I
The
said
red has
then,
way too many pieces.
Like I said then, this red set... In this set, red is being punished for the sins of Corey Stillcutter. I feel it. They didn't have to make that planet so bad, and I know they're balancing it for standard. I get it. But at the same time, you're telling me that there's not going to be some broken standard deck where the whole point is to untap that blue land as much as possible to just make a bunch of blue mana, or to make as many legendary copies of some kind of broken enchantment as possible, and you're just like, you're literally limited by the red one because you have to sacrifice a land.
Yeah.
Like, even if you found a way to untap it and, like, tap it again, you're sacrificing a land. Keep that in mind. Like, not only are you paying 2 mana and tapping this land, you're also sacrificing a land. So even if you sacrifice one of the lands you used to pay the mana for this, you're still technically 2 mana down. So bad.
So, Devil's Advocate, token decks. You doubled, tripled some tokens. You've got like 56 tokens on board. Fuck it. Goodbye, Mountain. Now they all attack.
Right.
Have a home.
Devil's Advocate. It only
Jesus'
gives them
advocate.
haste. I was like, you could have at least tacked on a keyword that would be a game ender. Like, if it would have said they get haste and trample, I'd have been fine. Haste and menace, I'd have been fine. Haste and double strike, I'd have been fine. Just haste.
Yeah.
Haste and +1/+0. Definitely super underwhelming and heartbreaking for someone who loves mono red.
Hey, the blue one's cool, though.
The blue one is very cool.
Blue one's dope.
The white one is even cooler.
Sure. I like my lands to make more mana. You know, keep it simple, stupid.
That's true.
I like the kiss system for the lands.
Hey, imagine this though. 2 Smothering Tithes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty good.
I'll do you one better. 2 Rhystic Studies.
Well, that just seems excessive, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And rude.
Extremely.
Very rude. Lastly, we talked about Warp, aka Kicker, with extra steps, which is basically Adventure. Adventure also basically being Kicker. Kicker is making a return. Consult the star charts, 1 in a blue for an instant with Kicker, 1 in a blue. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of lands you control. Put 1 of those cards into your hand. If the spell was kicked, you put 2 of those cards into your hand instead. You put the rest on the bottom in a random order. So actual literal Kicker has returned too.
It all comes full circle.
Might just be that one card, but Anyway, we are just sniffing the surface of Edge of Eternities, just touching the little feet on those landers down, ready eagerly to pay 2 mana and crack it to get a little bit of mountain action, you know?
Yeah. So ready.
But let's talk about the stellar sites. Okay. Yet another frame that also looks like proxies. But we're getting a bunch of reprints though.
They are.
Some of them kind of suck, if we're being completely honest. Cascading Cataracts. Don't know why you're here. Don't know who invited you to the cookout. Endless Sands. Okay. Inventor's Fair, you know. Sure. Right on. Happy to see you here. Thespian Stage.
Contested Warzone.
Nesting Ground. Mana Confluence. High Market. Gemstone Cavern. Eldrazi Temple. Blinkmoth Nexus. Mutavault.
Some hitters.
Mutavault's here. And they all get hideous frames.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're that bad.
No, the art is gorgeous, all right? The art is absolutely stunning.
I get it, but they are kind of like the
They're squishing the names. They're squishing the names and the land, like, and the card type, like, way too close together. You know, like if you scroll down on Scryfall for the link that I gave you, we got the line of gemstone caverns. There's 4 gemstone caverns, 2 of each art. The one on the left, where it's like not the fancy frame, Legendary Land and Gemstone Caverns are like fucking right on top of each other.
Right on top of each other.
And then you get like the fancy text font for the name on the other one, and it's got like the pretty frame and whatever. Sure.
It looks like a geode.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
But hey, a lot of very playable, very good lands being reprinted. A lot of lands that probably could use a little price cut in a lot of ways.
This is just the first day.
This is day 1. Day 1. 7 cards were revealed today, as of the recording. 32 were revealed yesterday, and a lot of them are just multiple arts of the same card. So,
just wait for 28 days later.
Ooh. Anyway, that's your space opera. Do you have anything else you would like to say about the Edge of Eternities?
I'm actually super excited for this set. There's been a bunch of stuff that I'm actually pretty excited about, all things considered. Like, I thought it would be almost too powerful, but a lot of cards are really catching my eye as, like, this is a contender. This could easily slot into X deck, or could easily command on a budget something.
Ooh. Well. Now, one thing we don't usually touch in these discussions is story and lore for these sets. One thing I do want to say, the whole concept of the Eternities, the blind Eternities, beyond the expanse of the multiverse, all right? Outer space, Edge of Eternities. As you made an allusion to earlier, very Spelljammer-esque. The different planes of existence in D&D, the space in between. I think it's a really cool idea. Would it have been cooler? A cooler way to present Ether Drift, possibly?
Probably.
Racing spaceships to different planes of existence? I think the concept of, like, that space between planes and dimensions, and then, like, the edge just before where, like, Eldrazi's come from and that nobody knows about. Tezzeret's out. That we didn't even bring up Tezzeret. He's colorless now.
And not a rat.
And kind of an alien.
Yeah.
He's going to discover some weird shit. He might go crazy if he hasn't already. More
if anything, I expect an alien secret lair soon.
Yeah, the alien secret lair.
With Tezzeret being bishop or rook.
The Tolarian Community College has proposed a possible Star Trek secret lair in the near future with Edge of Eternities because of all the spaceshipy stuff, I guess. I don't know about that, but... All right. Last, and this may offend some people, certainly least, certainly least, we have a new Secret Lair drop coming July 17th. And that is Sonic Secret Lair.
Sonic Heroes.
Oh, God. Sonic and all of his friends and some enemies are coming to Magic the Gathering with Secret Lair's Sonic Super Drop. They're getting a grand total of 3 Secret Lair drops, very similar to the Final Fantasy set, with 1 drop, Sonic Friends and Foes, being all mechanically unique cards. Sonic Friends and Foes is a 7-card drop plus a bonus card of some kind. Where, let's see, the Chasing Adventures is all reprints. It is 6 cards plus a token. And then the Turbo Gear, which is equipment and vehicles, which is 6 cards and a token as well. But, hi. Oh, she's adorable.
She just woke up.
Stealing the show. Do you like Sonic? I hope the answer is no.
I actually really like Sonic, and when my son saw the preview for those cards, he was very excited because he also really likes Sonic. So I was like, Wizards, I swear to God, you better have your stuff together because I gotta order this Secret Lair now.
Okay, remember what we talked about with the Final Fantasy ones.
Yep.
Add something to your cart like an hour or 2 before. Get in. It's not going to let you check out. Get in there, and you might be able to get in early. I'm just putting that out there. So we'll go from the bottom up for the exciting ones. Chasing Adventure, a bunch of instants and sorceries. We have Generous Gift, Open the Armory, Fabricate, Deadly Dispute, Unexpected Windfall, and Soul Ring being reprinted with a treasure token that's got the classic Sonic ring. Not really much anything worth talking about in terms of financial value. I think Fabricate and Open the Armory are on the higher end. Soul Ring, despite not being a lot of money, the Secret Lair Soul Rings also tend to go for a lot relative to the price of Soul Ring. One thing to note, all of these drops, the regular Secret Lair pricing, $29.99 non-foil, $39.99 in foil. The next one, Sonic Turbo Gear. We get some renames for some equipment and a vehicle. Knuckles Gloves is the Reaver Cleaver. Air Shoes are Swiftfoot Boots. Egg Hammer, the Mere Battlesphere. Pico Pico Hammer as Hammer of Nazan. Power Sneakers as Lightning Greaves. And Tornado, Sonic's biplane, as Weatherlight, with a Mere token as an Egg Pawn. And lastly, the biggin here. The 7-card, mechanically unique Secret Lair drop, Friends and Foes. Oh boy. Do we want to go through every single one?
No, we could just focus on the 2 main ones, the headliners.
Yeah, we got to talk about Shadow and Sonic. So we're getting Super State. It is a legendary enchantment aura for 7 mana. We're getting Knuckles, the Echidna, a mono red, double strike, trample, haste, make some treasure tokens. Amy Rose, treading new ground here with Boros, 2 red and white. She cares about equipment, and she wants you to have equipment. Dr. Eggman is a Grixis card, end step draw, giving people a villainous choice. Miles Tails Power and Azorius, flash flying vehicles, draw cards, put flying counters on shit. Whatever that archetype is.
Yeah.
Sure. And then Sonic and Shadow. We'll start with Shadow the Hedgehog. Black, red for a 4/2 legendary creature, Hedgehog Mercenary. He has haste, and whenever Shadow the Hedgehog or another creature you control with flash or haste dies, draw a card. He also has Chaos Control. This is the better one.
Yes.
Each spell you cast has split second if mana from an artifact was spent to cast it. Split second, for those of you that do not know, as long as a card with split second is on the stack, players cannot cast spells or activate abilities that are not mana abilities.
Yep.
So unless it is a trigger, it can't go on the stack until that spell resolves.
I've seen people talk about CEDH viability for this.
Mm-hmm. Rakdos is not a color combination that has a whole lot of power. I think oh my god, the Kingpin guy.
Oh, Obnixilis.
Obnixilis is probably the most viable Rakdos commander for CEDH.
Yes,
Shadow the Hedgehog. Protected combos are kind of important.
Very.
Giving, and this isn't spells with flash or haste. This isn't instants. This is spells. All of them.
All
Period. Period with a T at the end. What do you make? What do you make of Shadow the Hedgehog?
Shadow is going to be very good. I think it's going to catch a lot of people off guard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just going to be one of those things where you live and you learn.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But let's go over to the good guy now. The titular Sonic himself. Jeskai, 1 blue, red, white for a 2/4 legendary creature hedgehog warrior with haste, because he's got to go fast. The first ability, got to go fast. Whenever Sonic the Hedgehog attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with flash or haste. And whenever a creature you control with flash or haste is dealt damage, you create a tapped treasure token. Fun little ability.
Yeah.
Flash haste typal, I guess. It's not a type.
Nope.
So flash haste matters.
Yes.
Is fun. Completely overshadowed by Shadow the Hedgehog. I also misspoke earlier. The Sonic Friends and Foes is $40 non-foil, $50 rainbow foil. So it is at the increased price range.
They got to make that extra bit of money since it's mechanically unique.
That's the thing, though. 7 mechanically unique cards. Once the Secret Lair is sold out, no easy way to reprint. They're not giving us clear paths anymore for in-universe versions of these cards. These are going to be expensive. Shadow the Hedgehog especially is going to be very, very expensive, I think.
Well,
and
I don't think people should sleep on Sonic either. The commander mechanic pointed out that there is a 3-card combo with Sonic, a Krark card. Like, it works kind of like Krark Clan Iron works, but it's sacrifice an artifact. It deals 1 damage to each creature without flying. If you find a way to give all your creatures indestructible, you can then, if you have like an extra creature that has haste, you can just ping forever and generate treasures, which you can then sacrifice to deal damage, and it will generate infinite tapped treasures. But you're in blue, red, and white. I'm sure there's things like Dramatic Reversal that will untap all artifacts, or Turnabout that will also untap all artifacts, and then you have access to all that mana. Or you could play something like Magda, which you could then sacrifice all those treasures.
exactly.
Or you could play Academy Manufacturer, which continues to get better and better.
Finally broke Academy Manufacturer.
Yeah, imagine.
Which, by the way, with Academy Manufacturer, the treasure, food, and clue that it makes do not enter tapped.
And there you go.
It is a replacement effect that replaces the tapped treasure with untapped treasure, food, and clue. So seems like a shoe-in.
Something to think about.
Something to think about. I am... Oh, man.
Are you saying you're too slow?
I really don't like Sonic.
Ah, come on. He was in Smash Bros.
I know. He also played in the Olympics against Mario.
He did.
He's
voiced by the guy from Parks and Rec.
I know. I'm sure the movie's fine.
The movie is phenomenal.
I've heard good things.
If you haven't seen the Sonic movies,
Jim Carrey looks like he ate very well.
Oh, not only did he eat, like the progression to him looking like actual factual Eggman throughout the movies is great.
Listen, I am very, very biased against Sonic the Hedgehog for one reason.
Okay,
I will not elaborate further. Once I say the reason.
Okay.
And for those of you that know what I'm talking about, You will know exactly why I am not going to elaborate any further. And that is my discovery in the 20 teens of an internet entity known as Christian.
Ooh, okay, never mind.
And ever
Valid.
since then, I've been like, oh, I don't know how I feel about Sonic. I got a lot of
Shadow, the devil.
the devil.
I'm here to convince you to do sin.
But then again, one of my friends who is a coworker, she is very into Sonic the Hedgehog, so I'm probably going to try and pick up the Friends and Foes 1 or 2 copies of. Open one for a video, probably.
Yeah.
Give that to her. And then a sealed one that I will be able to trade in at Gen Con to a booth for probably more than I paid for it.
Oh,
Fingers
absolutely.
crossed. That's the goal, at least. Anyway, that is it for our speed through Cliff Notes version of all the shit that's been going on in Magic the Gathering for the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
Magic Con, Edge of Eternities debut, Banned and Restricted, gotta go fast. And shout out to our wonderful patron, $15 a month patron, Brandon Vole, for
Love you,
helping us
Brandon.
out. Love you, Brandon. Couldn't do it without you, quite literally. Quite literally could not be done without you. Getting in at under an hour 20, it's time for Papa to go play with his kids.
Look, let's say bye.
Bye.
Look,
Say bye to everyone.
say bye-bye.
Bye. We're very close to episode 100. We got to do something. We'll
We
figure
are.
it out. We're dangerously close. With all of that being said, we love you
Ta-ta.
very much. Ta-tas for now. We love you very much, and as always,
Ta-ta for now.
ta-tas.